What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. We hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you are enjoying the doldrums of the NFL offseason. I know we have about a month to go, obviously, until the Dallas Cowboys head out west to Oxnard, California for training camp. And since we have about a month, it is time to start something we do every offseason here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel. Make sure you do subscribe. And that is our positional preview series. Every couple of days, we're going to be taking a look at a certain position on the Dallas Cowboys, analyzing what they have and kind of figuring out what we expect from the group throughout the 2023 season. So again, about a month ago, we're going to be doing these every, I don't know, every 2-3 days, whatever we feel like, kind of along those lines. And today we start, of course, with the most important position, and that is the quarterback group. So as it stands, the Dallas Cowboys have three quarterbacks, so we really need to kind of obviously focus on and discuss Dak Prescott, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't care what anybody has to say about that. However you want to rank him, if you think he's 7, 8, 9, 10, he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Cooper Rush, his primary backup for now. Will Grier, another option, obviously, in that sense. And this position is really obvious. It's the quarterback. It's the most important position in professional football. You go as your quarterback goes, and which is why it's, befuddling to me that there are a lot of people who don't realize what Dak Prescott offers at the Cowboys. But that being said, it has to be a lot, right? Like that's what this has to be. Dak Prescott has to play some of his best football here in the 2023 season if the Dallas Cowboys are going to do something serious and obviously challenge for their first Lombardi trophy in about 30 years. And Dak Prescott obviously threw a lot of interceptions last year. And when we talk about those interceptions, I think it's important to note that that is not a normality for Dak Prescott. If you look at his career overall to this point, that was the significant outlier. There is going to be something that we have talked about in various senses over the years here on the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel and at bloggingtheboys.com, regression to the mean. Dak Prescott threw 15 interceptions last year. It is extraordinarily unlikely from a mathematical and a probability standpoint that that happens again here this coming season. So if we get something along the lines of, I don't know, 10, if you tell me that Dak cuts his interceptions down by 5 and he only has 10 as opposed to 15, that's a significant thing. And the Cowboys, obviously went 12-5 with that happening, but 5 of those games were played without Dak Prescott, which takes us to Cooper Rush. We'll come back to Dak in a second. And obviously, when Dak got hurt during the Week 1 loss to Tampa Bay last year, we all kind of thought the season was over. We kind of thought there was no way the Cowboys were going to be able to survive this because historically they hadn't. If you have followed the Cowboys for any stretch of time that I don't know, begins, let's call it in 2006 when Tony Romo took over halfway through the year for Drew Bledsoe. Ever since then, whenever the starting quarterback for the Cowboys has gone down, the team has cratered around them. And that's different coaching staffs, different quarterbacks, different supporting casts, different regimes. In 2010, when Tony Romo went down due to injury, the team completely and totally fell apart. In 2015, when Tony Romo went down to injury, the team completely and totally fell apart. In 2020, when Dak Prescott went down to injury, obviously after the ankle, the team didn't fall apart in the exact same way, something that I personally attribute to Mike McCarthy and his coaching staff and their ability to survive in a way that maybe the Jason Garrett era was not able to do in the exact same way. But still, the Cowboys were not a functional franchise or a functional football team throughout that 2020 season. And so when Dak got hurt last year, we were all sitting here saying, well, all of the historical precedent is that the Cowboys are going to lose all 5 of these games. Their season is completely and totally over. But Cooper Rush saved them. And Cooper Rush obviously brought back this offseason. He was a free agent. He was able to be brought back, like we said, by the team. And that's a significant thing. But if you rewound the clock, if you check the tape, if you go back here on our channel and watch some older videos, you know that I was killing the Cowboys last year for having Cooper Rush serve as Dak Prescott's primary backup. And I still feel a little bit uneasy about it. I'm obviously extraordinarily grateful for what Cooper Rush did for the Cowboys this past year. But do we really believe, if I told you that Dak had to miss 5 games again, do you really feel confident and comfortable trusting Cooper Rush? And the answer is probably no. Maybe you do feel somewhat confident, based off of what we saw last year. Maybe you feel somewhat confident based on the defense and obviously the acquisition of Brandon Cooks over the offseason and what the offense can maybe do to sort of carry him in a way that he can just kind of stay out of the way. But you don't feel confident in Cooper Rush's abilities on their own. And I think that's fair to say. Now, to be totally fair, I don't think there is a team where, you feel incredibly amazing about who the backup quarterback is if they have to be inserted into the game for one reason or another. And so that is kind of par for the course in a lot of senses. But I don't know that I even think Cooper Rush necessarily has this backup quarterback position locked down. Does anybody else? Because Will Grier has challenged him, obviously, in recent memory, and it's possible that he does. Now, the Cowboys, in all likelihood, did not give Cooper Rush a new contract. Not that they broke the bank or anything for him, but they did not bring Cooper Rush back in all likelihood after going 4-1 last year just to have Will Grier beat him out. But this is a meritocracy, as the aforementioned Tony Romo once told us in a tearful press conference of sorts. And so if Will Grier is the better guy, how do you just have Cooper Rush serve as one moment away from being the most important player in your organization? And that's really what one of the more important things is I think, with regards to the quarterback position. Now, the Cowboys, we all kind of thought they might draft a quarterback because there was something they had talked about in the lead up to the NFL draft. We know that Mike McCarthy has liked to have some young developmental quarterbacks on the roster to kind of work with and figure out. And they don't really have an obvious name in that sense this year. But that does, kind of take away one sector of the conversation and put that, discussion point on the backup job. Who is it going to be? We know the Cowboys will likely give Dak Prescott some veteran rest days throughout training camp, and those will be opportunities for Cooper Rush and or Will Grier to shine. That is probably, if you're looking for a point of intrigue throughout training camp, you shouldn't be shocked by anything that happens with Dak Prescott to this point throughout training camp. He's going to make some wonderful throws. There's going to be some wonderful highlights and things like that shared all over the internet. But where the true kind of battle, if you're looking for one, is happening at the quarterback position, it is who is going to back up Dak Prescott, who is, like we said, going to be the most important person on this team if Dak Prescott were to suffer an injury in some way, shape, or form. But back to Dak, like we said, this all comes back to him. I was reminded of something Mike McCarthy said in an article by Kurt Daniels at DallasCowboys.com at the mothership. This was such a great line when Mike McCarthy said it a few years ago. He said, defense wins championships, but the Super Bowl is won by the quarterback. That is so true in the NFL. And we all believe in this defense. We all believe in Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence, Trayvon Diggs, and Jaron Kearse and Dan Quinn, et cetera, et cetera. But Dak Prescott has to be the driving and propelling force. And that is the story in many ways of the Dallas Cowboys here in 2023. And it's the story of the Cowboys every single year. How far can their quarterback take them? And you can think that's annoying. You can think that's tired. You can think that's whatever. But until this team gets over that proverbial hump, it is going to be a discussion point. Now, something that I think is significant, it doesn't mean anything. You don't hang a banner for it or any, thing along those lines. But Dak Prescott at this point in time in his career has been to the divisional round of the playoffs a lot. We're talking about the 2016 season. Cowboys obviously had that first round bye. In 2018, they won a playoff game. And obviously this past year, they won a playoff game as well, beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So you're talking about he's had 3 shots to get back to the NFC Championship game where this franchise has not gotten. And he is only about to turn 30 years old, has not quite yet at the time that I'm putting this video together. So there's a lot of football left in Dak Prescott's future. And obviously we all hope it's for the Dallas Cowboys specifically. We'll see if and when the contract extension comes. That's another data point we have to be kind of on the lookout for as all this matriculates over the course of the next coming month. But Dak Prescott is the story of the Dallas Cowboys, and that's just the way things go for any NFL team. That's not just the Cowboys. The quarterback is the most important position on the team. And so while we can kind of, swat away the conversation about Cooper Rush and Will Grier and who's going to be QB2 and who's going to be QB3, whatever the case may be, I do think it's significant that, it really isn't a talking point, this position. The Cowboys are really set at quarterback. They have their starter. They practically have their backup. They have another option. We all know that there is the new rule about carrying quarterbacks thanks to what the 49ers went through after their playoff win over Dallas last year. So that does open the door for Will Grier, if he does not win the QB2 job outright, to kind of have a spot on this roster in some way, shape, or form. But this is Dak Prescott. This is Cooper Rush. This is Will Grier. It is pretty chalk all the way down the line, and that's just the way the quarterback position works. But next up in our positional preview series leading up to Dallas Cowboys training camp later on this week, we'll be taking a look not just at the running backs, but at the backfield in general. Fullbacks matter too. We'll look at what the Cowboys have. Obviously, the departure of Zeke Elliott this offseason, the acquisitions, of Ronald Jones in free agency and Deuce Vaughn in the NFL draft. We have a lot to talk about there, so I'm excited to do that with you. Once again, my name is RJ Ochoa. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at RJ Ochoa, on TikTok, RJ.Ochoa. You can comment down below. We'll do our best to get to those. You can also shoot me an email if you would like, rj.ochoa at sbnation.com. Once again, please subscribe to the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel, and have a great day. Can't wait to see you next time.